Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Ralph Rinaldi. Ralph is running for the Shenandoah District Board of Supervisors.
That's correct.
And you're running as a Republican, so there'll be I think there's a couple of you guys looking for that, so there's going to be a primary coming the first part of May, so we can talk about that as we go along. But why in the world, Ralph, do you want to run for the Board of Supervisors? You've been so involved in the property owners of Shenandoah Farms and the school board.
Planning Commission.
Yeah. You've been active since you retired, and before. So tell us why you want to run for the supervisor.
Well, the experience on serving on these boards has been a great education. You learn so much. You learn how to handle debates during our meetings.
Sure.
And in that regard, every board I've served on has never been dysfunctional.
Right.
And I believe that perhaps one of the reasons we've functioned is the different members on the board. We have always seemed to get the job done.
Right.
And so that's one reason. I want to roll up my sleeves and tighten up the management of the county a little bit.
Sure.
And not saying that it's running amok, but it could be a little better.
Sure. Well, you've been involved a lot here on the property owners of Shenandoah Farm, the POSF, and been butting heads a little bit with the county.
Just a little.
But not really. It's not. It's just like, show us. It's like you want the county to do what they say they're going to do, and vice versa. So I think that's what people want. They just want to be treated fair and equitably, and that seems to be going. With the sheriff and the police and the zoning and everybody else, people want to be. They comply, but they just want to be treated fairly.
Well, I think that's our case at POSF. That's been a very valuable experience, just dealing with the people in our community. We have a variety of folks there.
Right.
Some are very professional, some are just working class people.
We lived out in Shenandoah Farms, and I was the chairman for 5 years. Back in
you had the hard job.
Oh my gosh! And we were trying to. I think the most we could ever collect was like $50,000 if everybody paid, and you can't move snow, and there's hundreds of miles of roads. It seems like.
We used to say there was like 60 miles of roads, but when Bob Childress came in, he did a little bit a better study on the mileage, and it's 43 miles.
Oh well, it feels like 300.
When you drive across in the old days, now you guys were the pioneers.
Well, there was no paved roads. Now you go out there and say, "What's wrong?" There's paved roads everywhere.
That's interesting because and prior to the creation of the sanitary district, that board that was there, they didn't have enough money for snow removal.
No.
And of course residents chipped in. They had to.
We tried. We were very creative.
The farms has come a long way.
Yeah.
And I came in October of '95, and a district was created for that following fiscal year.
Right.
And then I joined the board a couple of years later. But the board members that got the sanitary district taken care of or done, they are the reason that Shenandoah Farms is the way we are today.
Yeah, I know people don't realize when I was on the board, we tried to get a sanitary district, and we took it to the court, and the anti-group, But Judge Marshall, look, Shenandoah, people don't realize how big Shenandoah Farms is and how these sections are. But, they don't touch each other. There's private land between these sections. And old Judge Marshall get up there, and he just could not wrap his head around why it wasn't one piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how we lost. We didn't publish the meets and bounds. What's 300 pages in the courthouse records?
Right.
No one knows where the meets and bounds are. They know what lot number. We published all the lot numbers in the sections, but that wasn't good enough. That was a technicality. And it took 20 years later before they ever developed, almost 20 years, before they ever got to a sanitary district. Yeah. And we tried, but a group come in and, we don't want it. So they took over the board. And guess what? 6 months later, they were trying to get a sanitary district.
Well, that's very
so
true.
I say all this because that's like a mini board of supervisors.
It is. I always say that Shenandoah Farms is a microcosm of county government.
It is.
We have a chairman, and we have a vice chair. We have a treasurer, a secretary, the whole bit. We follow Robert's Rules of Order for our meetings,
Right.
and we follow all the purchasing guidelines that Warren County has. So yeah, we could actually be a small town.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like 3,000 lots or something out there. I recall. I can't remember. A lot. There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
And what started, and that goes back to things that the board did 30, 40 years ago. At one time, Warren County had more recreational subdivisions than any county in the state. And, $50 down, $50 a month, and drew a lot of people. That these things were never developed to be full-time residents. They were to be recreational. And that goes back to zoning and everything else going. So, years ago, people didn't have the foresight that people would be moving to the county.
Well, then you had the idea of the deeded lot fee. So you had different deeded lot fees. You had $10 a year.
Yeah.
You had 15, and I think the highest one came at the later was a $50 fee.
Yeah.
And
you had some that had none.
Yeah, and that's right. Hey, you buy this lot today, and I'm going to waive the deeded lot fees. It was a sales gimmick. So.
Yeah, right. But that goes back to how government works, and I think that's important. You're now on the school board, and your term's running out here this year, and so that's another thing that really understands the budget. You got a big budget.
And I'll be honest with you, it is a big budget. It's almost half of the county budget, and there's so much to putting the budget together. Now, Miss Salins and I are fortunate. We're on the building committee.
Not the budget committee.
But Dr. Funk and Miss Lowe, they're on the budget committee. And, that's a lot to take in.
I've sat through a lot of those budget meetings, and it's POSF budget meeting, but even the county, we're sitting there, Mark and I are over there, we got the camera, and we're, hours and hours and hours and hours, and like, we'll come back when you're done.
Yeah.
It's one of those types.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about some of your experience you've had. We know about your boards, but what about, how did you get here? What kind of things did you do in your real jobs?
Okay. I came out here because, believe it or not, a guy that I worked for owed me some money. And I am a very fiscal conservative type of person. I didn't get all crazy that he owed me the money. He was more worried about it than me, but that had to get resolved. And he brought it up, and he said, I have 3 building lots in a place called Shenandoah Farms, and I want to give you those lots. And I said, well, okay, I'll go look at them. So I called my son. He has a 4-wheel drive truck, and I said, and he was living in Winchester, and he knew the area. And I said, hey, where's Shenandoah Farms at? He said, why you ask that? And it was like, okay. So I said, well, the guy wants to give me 3 lots for money he owes me. What do you think? He said, well, let's go take a look. He said, but let me drive you because we're going to need 4-wheel drive. I said, okay. So we come out here, and we kind of figure out where the road is that we got to get to. And we had to go up Venus Branch Road, and in those days, everything was a dirt road.
Sure.
Actually, they had been using shale out of the pit, and it gets wet, and it turns to mud.
Yep.
We get to the intersection of Venus Branch and Drummer Hill, and there's a deputy sheriff stuck in the mud. He was out serving warrants. So we pulled him out, and I told my son, that's it, we're turning around. Now I've had enough. I've seen enough. You would wear a car out prematurely living there. So we went down the road, and we drove past this abandoned house, and he said, that's my buddy's house. I said, really? I couldn't see it. I kind of looked and didn't see anything. So, and that was at the intersection of Lake and Howesville.
Right.
So we go up the road to look at some of his uncle's property that was out of the farms. They used to go 4-wheeling up there and that sort of thing. So we come back down, and I said, slow down, I want to see that place. And he pulled in, I looked at it from the outside, and I said, wow. He said, well, he'll probably sell it to you. He's had it boarded up for about 15 years. Yeah. And you could see where, I said, man, that place looks too far gone. So the following weekend, I was thinking about it, and I drove out here, and I looked at it. I had to kick in the back door to get inside, and the guy had taken it through drywall. And I said, well, I don't know about this place, and I left. Then I thought about it again. I came back up. I took some pictures, and I said, this place has possibility. It had a well and a septic field.
That's important.
And that was the big thing. Plus, it was 2 lots.
Right.
So I cut a deal, and I bought it, and people said, well, what are you going to do with that place? And I said, I don't know. I'm either going to rent it, sell it. I know I have to fix it up. Or I might live in it for a while. I don't know. So this is, and I'll come to the end because
this is how most people got the Shenandoah Farms.
I'm out there. Every window was broken. So I was taking the window sashes out, and I was going to take them back, down to Chantilly where I was staying, and reglaze them and take them back. And this was after I purchased the place. Well, Harry Wines pulls up, the deputy sheriff at the time. I didn't know him, but he introduced himself. But before that, I saw him, and I said, oh, great, there's the deputy. I'll get him to keep an eye on this place. Yeah. So I went out, and I had a hammer in my hand, and I was going, hey. And he got nervous and drew down on me, got behind the fender of the car. I was like, holy moly, what did I get into? So he says, once he settled down, and I got settled down, he says, he said, are you going to live here? And the way he said it was like, what's wrong with this place? And so I always have a little bit of humor about stuff.
That's good.
And Harry says, well, some of the people are pretty good here. So he didn't really want to say.
Right.
And then, so I just started fixing it up, and I kind of liked it. And then a guy by the name of Steve Rogers with S.W. Rogers, okay, he and I came up in the industry together. And I was telling him about it, and he said, Warren County has a lot of potential. He said, you did good, So I just kept that in the back of my mind, and after a few years, I decided to stay.
Well, there you are.
And here I am,
All right. You mentioned potential Warren County. So where do you see Warren County going? You become the supervisor. What are you going to do to move it? Where's that potential? How are we going to bundle that up and make something? Because I look at it and I see, everything's going to Winchester. Look at all the government offices and business go there. They're going down in the valley down here, and I'm looking. We have location to the city. We got 2 interstates. We got river. We got rail. We've got all this.
We have everything.
A lot of potential.
Yes.
But we can't seem to get off center. What do you
I think you got to look at what areas could be developed. I mean, you have some geographical
we got a river and a railroad and an interstate.
And you got mountains, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I think basically continuing the 522 corridor is necessary. And that's really what I would like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing some economical housing to come in here, so that our workforce can live and work in the county. Now, people have been saying that for years, and nothing ever happens.
Right.
So that's that.
It's kind of a catch-22. You can't have businesses because the first thing they look for is a workforce. If there's not a workforce, then the workforce does. They look at it as an education. We've moved that along, So it's kind of a who comes first, chicken or the egg,
Well, the situation out on Fairground Road, some of those businesses there, if you drive through the parking lot and look at the windshields, you'll see stickers from, but you'll see stickers from Page County, West Virginia, tags, etc. So those jobs, some of them are going to people here, but there's a lot of people coming in, and if you grow up here and graduate from high school here, and then you go down, graduate from college, and it's like, do you live at home for a couple of years and commute until you know where you want to go?
Right.
Or do you go down to Fairfax, you get a good job down there, you get a roommate, a buddy to room up with you, and so you stay down there. It's tough for young people to stay here and work.
Sure. So you think there's potential, though?
I think we got some potential. I think it's going to be on the blue collar side for a while until things develop, and that's good. We've got a great tech service for our high school kids. They can come out with certifications in different, electrical, heating and air, carpentry, etc.
Right.
So it's kind of like a big ball of string. You just kind of unwind it and you see, okay, what niche do you have here?
Right.
But I think, for example, our teacher retention, it has improved. And if you look at the housing for teacher retention, I was at an elementary school and talking with some of the young teachers there. They're all living in Winchester because there's economical apartments that they can get there. Seems like Warren County doesn't have that middle level of housing.
The bottom or the top.
That's right. So I think that has to be looked at. And I think also perhaps, maybe opening a can of wax here, but I think perhaps some incentive for mid-level county workers to help them move here, help with a deposit or something like that they would pay back later could be developed.
Yeah, I pitched a couple ideas. We've worked this workforce housing to death. To me, it's just another name for low-income housing because it's based on income. And they say, well, it's for police officers and school teachers. I said, you can't discriminate like that. I suggested in a couple campaigns that I've been in that you mentioned just like that, it's some sort of a loan assistance. You can discriminate that, meaning the school can put out one for teachers. The police department can put a loan program for police officers.
Absolutely.
The fire department can put a program together for firemen. And so that you can do it like, we're going to help you get a down payment. The longer you stay, the less you have to pay back. Or we'll get it on when you do move. Because like you mentioned, if I'm a school teacher working in Winchester, it's real easy for me to jump ship from Warren County to Winchester when an opening comes up. Because if I'm here in an apartment, all I'm out is a little few months and the lease runs out anyway. But if I have a house,
it's tougher to move.
It's harder to move.
Absolutely.
And so to me, if you want to retain teachers or policemen or firemen, and it sounds like you agree to this, that we need to get them into a house.
It's like you said, a person that's renting an apartment is more fluid on where they can go than a person that owns a piece of property.
Exactly, right.
And it's tough to keep people here.
Yeah, we just need to get the dialogue moving, and I think we've mentioned this before in some of our conversations. It may be an off-the-wall idea, but at least get the conversation started between the board or the school board or the Board of Supervisors, the EDA, whatever it is, and all of a sudden some good idea appears.
Well, I'm a firm believer in that term brainstorming. You throw out some ideas and don't be timid that idea is no good, because if I throw out an off-the-wall idea, you may be able to piggyback on that idea, and all of a sudden a couple of other people chime in, and you've got a great idea.
Right, and you got consensus and move forward. Yeah.
Yep. People buy into that, your ownership.
So that's one of your strengths?
Yeah, I can bring people together as long as people want to be brought together.
Right.
There's some people that you can't, you can't get to.
No. You got to know the difference.
They've drank the Kool-Aid from somewhere else.
Let's bring up one more thing before we quit here.
Sure.
Let's talk about town-county relationships. Where are we at on, we're having these liaison meetings. I think there's one tomorrow or today, I think. But let's talk about that because, the town is a county. The town is basically a sanitary district. I mean, in a way, if you look at it, we take care of just what the town's supposed to take care of.
Right.
And even if we, people talk about consolidating governments and things, but I said, even if we did, we had to say a county government, and we still have to have an overlay district for the town because it'd be like a sanitary district. So people talk about double taxation. They're not really double taxed. They're only paying for the services that the town provides. And you would be doing that like Shenandoah Farms pays for the things that only Shenandoah Farms gets. So the question is, what do you think we can do to get these people all working together on the same team? The town is in the county. It's the heart and soul of the county. I think the county needs to realize that. The town is the heart and soul of the county. How goes the town? How goes the county? So tell me your feelings on
I
it.
think you're right about how goes the town, goes the county. And, I have said for years, there has to be a good working relationship with the town and the county. And I think that can start with a strong town manager and a strong county administrator where they can get the nuts and bolts of things going on.
Work together.
And work together. And then they would also involve the council and the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
And, I'm not sure, but I know with the school board, we have a budget time. We have a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. So all the supervisors were there, and all of us on the school board were there.
Right.
The superintendent was there, the county administrator was there, and his people. I think the same thing could occur with the town as, a joint meeting with everybody, just not a couple of them, with everybody showing up. And then each magisterial district should buddy up with a couple of town councilmen and get together, coffee, shoot the breeze, look at things, each group could see what the other group is into, and see the problems the other group is having, because a problem the town is having could be the same problem the county is having. Years ago, we used to have a meeting with all the sanitary districts, and the same problem the Farms was having was the same problem Blue Mountain was having, or some other sanitary district. So, and it was kind of reassuring that, hey, we're actually doing something right, because it was confirmed by the other districts that, so it wasn't an antagonistic situation. It was more of a camaraderie situation,
So you want to kind of bring everybody together on the same page?
I would like to, and I would start by picking 2 council members and just go and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I ask in the past, I kind of like the way how the board is set up. You represent a particular area. So if I live in Shenandoah Farms, I know who my representative is. And my representative lives in the same district I live in. The town is kind of set up, it's at large.
It's at large,
and it has a tendency to be heavy in one side of town where people live to run, and other parts of town. If you don't live there, you really don't know what the situation is. If you lived out in the village and you see how people race up and down the roads, that'd be important to you. But if you live over here on a cul-de-sac where there's no traffic, that don't seem to be as important. So I always said, why don't we see if we can change our charter, and let's be like the county. We have the Shenandoah District and Happy Creek District and South River, because all those do come to a point in the town, right?
It's like this table with a spoke, and the town is in the center of the table.
So it would be real easy to do that, and then we would have some representation, and I think things would move along smooth when people are part of that. Sounds like I'm running for Board of Supervisors.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I apologize.
I'll vote for you. Are you in the Shenandoah District?
No, I'm not in the Shenandoah.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I'm not. I'm in North River.
Okay.
But I apologize for doing all the talking, but I'm trying to draw stuff out here, and I think you're doing a good job. It sounds like, but we are having a primary. And that's May the 5th, is that correct?
That's correct.
May 5th, and I think it's going to it's running from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 o'clock, and it's going to be at the North Warren Volunteer Fire Department. That's the one that's out here.
It's basically off 522 in Rockland Road.
Right, exactly. So all voters can run. You don't have to be a Republican to vote in this.
Any resident, any registered voter that lives in the Shenandoah District will be able to vote there.
Right.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Independent, or Democrat. You can still vote for your representative at this meeting as long as you live in that district.
That's correct.
Right. So that's sometimes people get confused on that. They see it called a Republican primary.
Yes.
And they say, well, I can't vote in that. I'm not a Republican. But
well, and then you get some people that say, well, I'm a diehard Democrat and I'm not going to participate in that, So, but if you look at the way things work, like in the Farms, it doesn't matter to me if someone living in the Farms is a member of POSF. They can be.
Right.
Okay, if they want. But if they have an issue with their road or another type of issue, we're going to look into it. We're going to help them, assist them. And it's the same thing with a supervisor. it doesn't matter to me what party you're affiliated with. You're still going to get represented
Right.
if I'm elected by me.
Right.
And I have no special agenda. I just want to make it better for the people that live in that district and all of Warren County.
Right.
Because what people don't realize is supervisors vote on all issues in the county, just not their district.
Exactly.
And so
Right.
that's important. So I will represent all citizens of Warren County.
Right. Well, Ralph, I appreciate you and other people that do run for these offices. I think it's an important thing that we need to do. And even if people win or lose, it's a pretty interesting experience to go through in your life. And I think it's part of that volunteerism that we have in America. And I think it's great. Appreciate you running, and thank you for working on the school board for the last 4 years, and you represented Shenandoah District in that as well. So I appreciate that, and you've served on so many things. And I also want to remember, Ralph's a veteran as well. So.
Oh yeah, I forget about that after all.
It's been a while, but
I was in the U.S. Navy from 1965 to 1969. I have an honorable discharge. I have all the regular ribbons and medals that you get from the Vietnam era. I've served in Vietnam. I was actually in North Vietnam more than South Vietnam, so I could tell you.
You're not supposed to talk about that.
I can tell you. Well, nowadays, I can tell you some stories about that.
And you're a graduate from Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm.
So you're a Virginia boy.
I have only lived in one state, and that's Virginia.
Okay.
And to me, Virginia is the best state in the union.
It's a motherland, isn't it?
Yeah, we're
motherland of all presidents. What they say.
Well, that's
Or
where
most presidents.
That's where a lot of it all started too.
It is. It's the heart of our country.
I like Virginia.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love Front Royal because we get all 4 seasons, not too much of any one. And these mountains protect us from all the bad weather. They get tornadoes and hurricanes.
That's
and all.
right.
And we're nice set right here in the valley, so it's great.
I like to get one big snow a year.
Well, we don't. I tell people that you pay for it later if you don't get it.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, Ralph, thanks so much.
Oh, thank
Remind
you.
everyone about the primary. It's May the 5th from 2 to 7 at the North Warren Fire Department if you live in the Shenandoah District. Doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. All registered voters can vote. May 5th, 2 to 7, North Warren. And
That's
again,
correct.
Ralph, we'll see you then. Okay?
I'll be there.
All right.
All right. I think I'll be there.
You'll be there. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.